and welcome to the Golden Hour and the Manifest to Live Life Golden podcast and YouTube show. I'm Golden Duffy, your host, and today we're talking about training that mind. I could probably do a 6-week course on training the mind because there are so many facets to it. And I decided today that I wanted to do this on mind training because it's the single most important thing you can do when it comes to manifesting. Because if you don't have control over your mind, you don't have control over your emotions, you're not going to be able to be a very powerful creator. Because when we are a victim to the emotions, when we let our emotional field run the show, we don't have say in what's going on, because these thoughts are going to feed the emotions that are usually connected to our wounds or our traumas of the past. And we just create unconsciously. If you want to be a conscious creator, you've got to get to the deep foundational parts of yourself that go beyond the traumas, that go beyond the wounds, that go deeper into the truth of yourself. So mind training is like a number one. I recently had some blood work done, and my doctor told me that my serotonin levels are very low. And interestingly, like that's the chemical that makes you feel happy or joyful. And I was like, how is that even possible? And it made me realize like how we have the ability to overcompensate for even these things going on, because we have the ability to train our focus. We have the ability to train our mind to focus on the things that are going well, even if there's things in our body that could potentially, influence us to be depressed or angry or sad or whatever it is. So I thought that was really interesting. And I thought, wow, that gives a lot of credit to mind training, because I did not even know that. There wasn't any indication to me that there was a low level in my body that actually drives my happy hormones. So get some blood work done. That's actually a really good idea as well, because now I'm on a supplement for it. And have I noticed a difference? Not really. I think the mind training really has been overcompensating and overriding anything that would have caused me to get low. I think also living in this part of my life where I feel super fulfilled. So if you don't have that stuff going on, and I still have times and moments where I'm like, what am I doing and why am I here? I think that's also only part of the human, tendency to question what we're doing and to, become dissatisfied and feel like, what am I doing that's actually bringing me joy in my life and passion? And luckily I do have a lot of those things dialed in right now. But if you don't, then it's asking yourself, what are those things? What are those things that are going to drive passion for you or drive fulfillment for you or make you feel like you can wake up every day and find a slice of joy? I really do believe the point of being here, the point of living this life, is to uncover and discover those parts of ourselves where we are in love, where we are in joy, and expanding and growing past the wounds and the trauma so that we can become more and experience more and create more and become these really bright lights in the world. You may look at people like that are really happy and feel good. And judgment and perception is such an interesting thing, because we can, especially with social media, because there's so much drive for people to have these personas, right? For them to create perceptions where people look at them and go, wow, she's really happy, or she's really wealthy, or he's really got it going on, he's really successful. And what we found is that even people who we perceived as successful end up, unhappy or addicted to drugs or alcohol or all of that. So judgment and perception is really interesting. And then that comparison, comparing yourself to other people can really make you feel less than. So this is about you. This is about your path. This is about who you want to be in each defining moment. The defining moments in your life, the moments that make you stop and realize what you're doing or realize what you're not doing to drive you to places where you can feel passion and joy and fulfillment. So it all begins with mind training. No matter what's going on in your life, it all begins with the perception of what you are allowing your mind to focus on that drives the emotions. So I'll do a little basics of law of attraction. I love to do this. It's a great reminder. When you have a thought, right? A thought happens, and once you focus on that thought, another thought joins it after 16, 17 seconds, and then another thought. And then by the time you get to like 68 seconds, that's when your emotions start to get evoked. Now, sometimes it may feel faster than that. Like if you're a triggered person, if you are really quick to judge or really quick to get upset, it may feel faster than that, but that's the trajectory usually. And sometimes I think it's hard to map like when the thought started, because we're not always conscious of every thought we have. And that's an important piece of this, right? Becoming conscious, becoming aware, not doing things that are automatic behaviors or automatic triggers anymore, because those automatic behaviors and triggers are like a merry-go-round, and they just create these cycles in your life that you're no longer interested in living. So the first thing you have to do is get a hold of that mind. Now, many of you believe that, and I've talked to so many people that believe that there's no possibility of ever quieting their mind. I've had people that have completely given up on any sort of quieting their mind practice or meditation, if you want to call it that. And my belief is that the reason why they can't quiet their mind is because they believe that, right? They believe. So if you tell your mind, whatever you tell your mind becomes. So when you tell your mind, you're in control, there's nothing I can do to sway you or to get you to quiet down, your mind's like having a party, and your mind's like, yeah, that's right. We are not going to quiet down, and we're just going to keep ramping it up. And the issue with that, the challenge with that, of having this constant barrage of thoughts and never getting a break, is that you are constantly pumping hormones and things, chemicals through your body, and you're never getting a break. So what ends up happening is that parasympathetic nervous system goes into overdrive. And what you focus on expands. So the more you're in overdrive, the more you're going to be addicted to that overdrive, which means you get addicted to adrenaline, you get addicted to drama, you get addicted to fear, anxiety, all those things that you consistently feel like you have no control over. And then, you start maybe looking into medication or something to settle you down. And then the medicine just completely numbs you out to feelings, and you really get nowhere with that. Now, I'm not saying that, I'm not knocking medicine. I've never taken medicine like that, so I can't speak to it. But just from my journey with many, many clients, I've learned that that road doesn't necessarily lead to your spiritual growth, because if you're so numbed out and dumbed down that you're not feeling your feelings, how can you be in touch with the truth of who you are? How can you be in touch with the traumas and the wounds you are looking to heal? I'm not saying it's impossible, but it just makes it a little bit more challenging. So when it comes to your mind, right, you have these thoughts. Now we've got 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. That's a lot of thoughts. And they start sometimes in the middle of the night. Sometimes the second you wake up in the morning, you're picking up on thoughts from yesterday. You're picking up on worries, picking up on to-do lists. Pay attention to this. Whatever you're waking up to in your thought process, so like the first thoughts you have, maybe before your feet even hit the floor, pay attention to those, because those are going to drive the energy for your day, and they're going to drive the energy of your life, because those are the ones that you have more of a tendency to pick up on than any other. And those are the ones that are not necessarily driven by other people. They're not driven by your perceptions of other people, because you're just like fresh. You're just waking up in the morning. Maybe you haven't seen anybody yet. Pay attention to what those are, because you are setting the tone. You are setting the foundation. Now, keep this in mind. Your state, your mood, right? Like how you're feeling is creating, right? That's what's setting your frequency dial up for more things to come to you that are of that like frequency. So your thoughts, your feelings are going to drive that mood. So now we got your thoughts, we got your feelings, we got your mood. Everything begins with the thoughts, right? It's all foundational within the thought realm. So the thoughts are what drives everything, drives the mood, everything, right? The thoughts are connected to your perceptions. So how you're perceiving how people are treating you, how you're perceiving how life is treating you, how you're perceiving when you wake up in the morning, how you're perceiving how your day is going to go. That actually solidifies your mood, your state, that perception. And a lot of times our perceptions are assumptions. They're assumptions and they're driven by wounds, old traumas, old stories, right? Belief systems that give permission to lower negative field thinking or frequencies. Permissions, right? I have a permission to believe that that person did that to piss me off because people always do that stuff to me. I got a lot of evidence of it, right? And if you keep playing that tune, right? If you keep drumming that drum, if you keep telling that story, that's going to be your experience with every single person you meet. And we all know people like this, right? They constantly complain. They have terrible relationships. They're getting screwed over, and it's a frequency. They're literally in a frequency. So if you could look at your life story, right? All the characters, all the scenes, all the different places you find yourself in during the day, and you could look at the thoughts that you are throwing at these things that are sparking that emotion, that are creating your state and your mood. If you could look at each one of those segments of your life and decide ahead of time how you want to feel, throwing blessings at it, throwing gratitude at it, you would change the frequency and that experience. It's like magic. It is literally like magic. It will blow your mind. I've recently done some working with someone, and I'm watching her life unfold in some of the most miraculous ways, all because of the way that she's healing, the way that she's acknowledging. We've had a lot of conversations about control dramas lately because we read the Celestine Prophecy, both my husband and I, and then we actually watched the movie, which is a low budget film. It doesn't really go into the control dramas in the movie, but as we're talking about it and as we're noticing it, one of the things, like the epiphanies that I've had recently, and thankfully I have people in my life who remind me of these things or who bring things like this to my attention, is that once you call out a drama in your life, and I have evidence of this a few times, once you call out the drama, it dissipates it. It's like looking at fear in the face. It dissipates it because fear is false evidence appearing real. So once you look at it and you see that it's not real, it can't stay because it's not real. So when you do that with your control dramas, like yesterday, I had a really interesting experience at school. I'm going to school for interior design, and we're doing a lot of drawing and measuring and scale. Like we're putting furniture in a room to scale. So we need to do, all these different measurements, and we need to do math, and not my strong point, not my strong points. It's actually part of my brain that I have not really wanted to use in a while, the whole math part, that logical math part. I'm more of like a word emotional. That's more of like things that I enjoy doing. So as we're doing this, I start to get like confused, and then I get anxious. Like I could watch the whole thing. Like I'm the watcher of this play, right? And as I see myself like getting anxious and confused, I know that that is blocking my wisdom channel. I know that 100%. So as I'm showing the teacher, and as I'm like feeling like I'm getting left behind because I'm not getting it and I'm not catching up, and the teacher's showing me, I'm like, I feel like I have a block. And she goes, absolutely. And just acknowledging that, after she said that, and then she said, "You're going to get it." She said, "You're going to get it." Like she gave me that little, that little connection to my wisdom and to, uh, to a positive frequency that I could grab onto. Right. So I'm in these lower thoughts, right, that are driving an emotion of anxiety and fear. So my mood, my state is starting to drop. And then she says something like that and brings me right up to, that's right. I have power over this. I can do this. I can absolutely do this. We are capable of so much more, right? I think it's like, what do we use? Like 1% of our brain. Like literally, we have so much so much more that we are capable of. It's the stories and the beliefs and the permissions that we give ourselves to be less than that actually creates the issues with learning or challenges, or anxiety and fear will every time block your wisdom channel. Every single time it will block your wisdom channel. So when you say things like, I am figuring this out, I am strong, I am capable, I am powerful of understanding anything, right? I'm not going to fail because I'm not going to give up. I'm going to figure this out. This is going to become second nature to me. And as I'm starting to do it and read this architectural ruler and understand what the lines are, and now it's starting to become part of my memory bank, right? That's the other part of it, is like remembering this stuff and like, oh, can I remember things still? I don't know. Yes, I can remember things still. It starts to be like a grid that starts to fill in, and then you get better and better and better with time. And she said, after a while, you just start to eye things and you know what 5 feet is. Like, if that's 5 feet on the scale, which is, actually 5 inches. Going to the understanding that everything that's happening in this mind of ours, everything that we have the capacity to learn and to grow and to expand from, begins as a unknown, as something that we didn't know. So if you were to think back about something that you learned how to do, and you think back all the way back to like your first day of doing that, and how fearful you were, how much anxiety you had, or how much excitement you had, how much passion you had to learn it, to grow, to be excited about learning this new skill, you would recognize that there is a gap, that there is a space of time between learning something and knowing something. And in that space of time, you can treat it however you want, right? You can treat it with excitement and fun, and like, I'm in this to win it and I can't wait to learn it and I'm so excited to have this knowledge. Or you can treat it like this, crevasse, like this thing that you have to scale and this thing that you have to like figure out, and it's dangerous and you might fall, you might die, like all those crazy things that you tell yourself in between this space. It can be so much more fun when you can close the gap within your mind and say, I'm in this to win this. I'm in this to figure this out. And this is something that excites me and I'm passionate about. So I'm going to take the time, attention, and focus to shift this so that it's an easier journey for me. And you can do that with absolutely everything. The only reason why things cause us pain or misery is because of the thoughts and the perceptions that we wrap around it. And then it manifests as such, right? That was so good. The only thing that cause misery are our thoughts and perceptions that we wrap around stuff. Our relationships, the people around us, the story we tell ourselves about ourselves, the way that we navigate the world, the way that we perceive the world, all of that will be subject to what you decide. Now, if you're an unconscious person, which you probably wouldn't be watching the show if you were super unconscious, but if you're a completely unconscious person, which quite honestly, we are on this earth with a lot of completely unconscious people, that's really good for you to know. Yeah, a lot of unconscious people here. And because we're with a whole bunch of unconscious people and we are the conscious people for the most part, not 100% all the time. Sometimes we go unconscious still, right? That's when we can get into our control dramas. But because we can be conscious, then we can look at people in a different perspective, in a different view, because we are not driven by this harsh judgment of, not understanding, not being compassionate, not understanding. Because we are awake, because we are conscious, we can go back to the times that we weren't and remember that. I had something recently happen, and it was really interesting to go back in the files of my life and to recognize that there was a time in my life where I did take advantage of people, and where I did feel like people who had a lot of money and who were wealthier than I was kind of owed me something, right? Oh, they should pay for this because they have all the money, right? And now that I think about being that person, I can't even believe it, but it was such an unconscious thing. It was such a part of my growth to wake up and go, that's not necessarily correct at all. Just because somebody has more money than me doesn't mean that they deserve to pay for my coffee or pay for my lunch or whatever. So, or that they should give me money because they have a lot of money. That is broke and lack mentality, 100%. So instead, if you can reach for abundance within your own life without thinking that someone's entitled or owes you or whatever, right? Or thinking that they're luckier than you because they're wealthier than you. Wealth has nothing to do with luck, and wealth has nothing to do with happiness. I will tell you that 100%. So the perceptions that you're giving as far as the people outside of you, when you start comparing and you start feeling less than, could be completely off, right? Like everything we could be perceiving could be a misjudgment. It could be a miscalculation. It could be that get this one, this is a big one, that our wounds and our traumas of our life previously shade and shadow the way we see things, so that what we are perceiving is not actually what's happening. Right? Our judgments, what we assume about people, that can shape the way we see people, that can shape the frequency that we're in, and we tune into that part of those people, and then we don't see anything else. That was big. I hope you caught that, because that was big, right? Because if we're judging and we're perceiving someone as a certain way, then we are sending a signal to that way. If we want to change our relationships with people and we want to change the way we see people, we have to start stripping down those assumptions and judgments and perceptions, especially if they're negative, right? If you have a perception, or if they drive negativity, like if you have a perception about someone and you're like, oh, their life is so perfect, and it makes you feel bad, then that's not a good perception, right? First of all, nobody's life is perfect. Nobody. And if they're saying that it's perfect, they're putting on a persona, because this is a human experience, and we are here to mull around in all the challenge and the contrast to fortify the truth within us, to help us to discover that truth within us. Now, many people can run from that. They can hide from that. They can do drugs or drink or eat or whatever to really, it's funny. This is so off topic, but I'm just going to say it. I was at the gym this morning and I was walking on the treadmill, and there's TVs. I watched the little HGTV on TV, and there was a commercial. There's always these pharmaceutical commercials. There was a commercial for a weight loss drug, and I can't remember which one it was. And I thought it was so interesting that we as a society need to take a drug to lose weight when the answers are all there. Like the answer to lose weight it's pretty dialed in and pretty simple, right? Eat less, eat healthy, exercise, you'll be good, right? But because we have a society who uses food to shove down emotion, right? And who eats foods that are, highly processed, full of sugar, that are have these addictive qualities. Now that we have this food that's extremely addictive, now we have this issue where people feel like they can't lose weight because they feel like they can't get a hold of it. And really the basis of all of it is they can't get a hold on their emotional field, because if you get a hold on so weight is heavy energy, right? It's eating crappy because you don't feel good, because you're trying to feel better by eating food, right? An addiction to food is always like that. It's just like drugs and alcohol. It's the same thing. You just don't want to feel what you're feeling. So you go and you do something to the extreme so you don't have to pay attention to like what's going on in here. So it all really stems down to getting control of that emotional field, which attaches to your thoughts. And addiction is very much attached to thoughts. Yes, there's physical addictions, 100%, but for the most part, every addictive craving you have begins with a thought. Now, does the physical body drive the thought? Very possibly. Sugar cravings, possibly. I heard yesterday this little video really quick. It was like a reel, and they were saying how the detox from sugar addiction can be worse than heroin. I was like, what? But that's how addictive sugar is. And because sugar is in everything, it's a little bit hard to stay away from, right? So keep in mind. So when it comes to this, idea that people's heaviness or their weight problems stem from the fact that their body doesn't do something correctly, there could be a percentage of people like that. But for the most part, I think it goes with it's 100% your mind. I've realized recently, because I was, on that roller coaster ride with my weight for a really long time. I think this is probably the first time in my life that I feel very settled in my weight and my body, because I'm not trying to achieve something that feels impossible. I think I put myself up to a lot of impossibility. You want the secret, really? The secret is to let the fact go, like to let it go that your body isn't what you want it to be. I weight train like 5 or 6 days a week. No lie. I weight train every day. I eat a lot of natural, healthy, delicious foods. I'm high protein, and I don't eat a lot of junk food, and I don't drink a lot of alcohol. And I walk as much as I can. So it's really simple. It's really simple. And now I feel good. I feel strong. I can see muscles developing. It took time. I've been weight training really solidly 6 days a week since October. So it takes time. I think that we think that it's going to be like this, fast track. But along the lines of mind training, weight loss goes along with this, because if you hate yourself, if you're down on yourself, if you use food to, squash that emotional field, you're going to have a much harder time than if you gain control of your mind and gain control of this process. And then food becomes fuel. It doesn't become this like, oh, I'm going to eat a donut so I feel better, right? It's not like that. It doesn't have to be like that anymore, because you have a handle on that emotional field. Now, how do you get a handle on your emotional field? Well, I'm going to say it. Meditating is number one, because it will create the space. Now, meditating isn't the be all end all. It's not going to solve all of your problems. In fact, when you start meditating, it may actually bring a lot of things up that you haven't dealt with before. I was watching a thing last night. It was this crazy documentary on Tylenol. I don't recommend it. We started watching it because we didn't have anything to watch, and we were curious because it happened when we were kids, where somebody was putting cyanide in the Tylenol and like 8 people died or something. The thing that I found so interesting, I'm always looking for something very interesting that I can take with me to talk about that's valuable. The thing that I found interesting was that every single person on the show, when talking about this thing that happened 40 years ago, it was like 1982, the people that died, they would still, when they were talking about them, they would still choke up in grief. And I thought, wow, that is so interesting, that grief is so powerful and so strong that even 40 years from an event, you can still be charged from it. You can still have those. And most people walking on this planet do not process grief. Grief is probably one of the most painful emotions that we experience here. So most people don't want to deal with it. they just get back into their lives, they get busy, or they get stuck in it where they're just like depressed and down and sad all the time, or they just completely ignore it. So then when another person passes on, that grief, all of that, it compounds, because then every time somebody, passes on a pet or a loved one, they're going to exasperate that because they have that grief that they haven't processed still within them. So how do you process stuff? I've given you guys tons of processes in here. Here's my journal. This is a great one for processing. I'm going to put that. This is also a really great, I'm putting this up on the screen. Hey, go check out my YouTube channel, Manifest to Live Life Goldyn, if you're not watching this on my YouTube channel, because for whatever reason, the last 3 or 4 weeks, I didn't put it on the podcast site. I don't know what happened, but I guess I got busy and I went to go into the podcast site and I was like, oh my gosh, like my last 4 episodes aren't in here. So I will see a drop in listening because people are only listening there. So go over to YouTube, like and subscribe, and then you'll never miss a show, because this E360 show, if you're watching this on E360, and my YouTube are linked. So when I share the show, it goes to both of those sites. The podcast site I have to do manually. So sometimes, and so just go there. And then also you can see the QR codes when I do the books, or I'm going to start doing some product reviews and I'll have QR codes for that. I actually have a guy coming in to talk about mushrooms. I'm very excited about that. I'm very into plant medicine. So he's going to come on. I'm going to interview him. He has a great business called, Tribe Mycelium, I think it is, and all of the incredible health benefits that mushrooms bring, from, memory to mood to energy to a huge gamut. I've watched How to Change Your Brain on Netflix and Fantastic Fungi. Those are both really good resources for that. But getting back to the journal. So this is a great resource for channeling your whatever you're working on. Let me just read you one of the writing prompts in here. So I've got a bunch of writing prompts. There's also 100 pages of content in here. Today I feel into more of who I am by deciding that I am strong and worthy. I bring forth the energy of trusting in myself. I am here to greet this day with the ease and flow of knowing that I am a powerful creator. So those are like really strong intents for your day. And then journaling below, maybe how you feel about that or what you need to work on with that. Whenever an emotion comes up that you need to work on, it's sitting down with a piece of paper. It's getting really clear. Why do I feel this? Where does it come from? How can I release it? And that's what's going to help you to move the needle on your expansion and growth faster than if you're just ignoring your emotions. If you ignore your emotions, or if you ignore the misery that's going on in your life, it's just going to get worse and worse. It's going to get denser and denser until something just falls apart, so that you actually have to now pay attention. So if you're not doing anything about your crappy life, don't worry. It's going to get crappier. And then eventually you're just not going to be able to take it. And you're going to take some leaps of faith. Either way, it's your journey and you can do it however you like. So here's the QR code on this. This is an awesome book on the left part of the screen. And you really do need the QR code because Amazon, because of Amazon. Okay. Just because of Amazon. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. So let me just take a swig of water. Get back to mind training. Every single thought you have does not need to be focused on. Momentum is something that happens in the universe. We have universal momentum, where once you start thinking a thought, another thought joins it, another thought, then you're in frequency. When you're in the frequency of something, you set up a momentum for it, right? It's like being on a certain radio station and only hearing that type of music, right? Like if you say, I'm not going to say it because then she'll start playing music, but if you're like, play me reggae music, you guys all know that's what I listen to, you're going to hear reggae music. If you said, play me the heavy metal station, then you're going to hear heavy metal. So tune into the frequencies that are going to support the mood you want to be in. Start deciding what kind of mood you want to be in. Start deciding what kind of thoughts you're going to focus on. When a thought comes that's worrisome, anxiety-filled, fearful, aggravated, tense, annoyed, angry, when those thoughts come, You have 16 seconds to make a decision about those thoughts before you start ramping up momentum. And the challenge in this process is if you have a long field of momentum. Now you break momentum every time you go to sleep. So a nap works, or go to sleep at night, as long as you wake up in the morning and decide something else for yourself. If you wake up in the morning and you're not conscious and you pick up on the thoughts of yesterday, you'll be in the same crappy mood you were in yesterday. Waking up and saying, it's a new day. It's a new day. I've got a new vibe. I get to pick who I am today. I get to be who I want to be. I get to present in the way that I want to present. I get to grab the thoughts that feel the best. I get to be in gratitude, right? Can you imagine waking up like that? I kind of wake up like that. I do. That's the best chance you have to create a foundation for your day. Now you're in a high vibe. You're feeling good, right? You trained your mind first thing in the morning. You sat down. You spent your time meditating. Maybe you enjoyed your cup of coffee. Maybe you did some journaling. You're feeling all prepared for the day. And then you get on the road and something happens. Road rage. You get pulled over for speeding. You get a phone call from your kid. Things aren't going well. They just got suspended from school. I don't know what it is. I don't know what your circumstances are. That's not happening to me anymore, or really never did. But these things happen, right? Because we have people in our lives. We have all these things going on. At that moment, you get to decide if you're going to pick up on a new frequency or if you're going to keep the good vibes going. And if you've got a wound or a trauma, it may feel like you don't have a choice, right? Like if this sparks something in you where it's like, my kids are always screwing up, or, we don't have finances and now I have a speeding ticket, whatever it is that those thoughts get ramped up when that circumstance happens. If you can catch them in the beginning, it won't ruin your day. It's funny. I had this teacher at school, and she was talking about how busy her life has been. She's got a lot going on. She does a lot of things. She travels really far to teach to our school. I'm really grateful for that. But she was talking about how she's exhausted and how she can't catch up from the week before. And then she started going over like what she did the week before. And I was like, wow, like that was last week. Like you can let that go. It's not here anymore. You're not doing it anymore, but you're still carrying the energy of the exhaustion of it. So of course you can't get over your exhaustion when you're driving that, right? How can you get over being exhausted when you're constantly saying how exhausted you are and you're constantly thinking about the things that overwhelmed you 5 days ago that caused you to be exhausted? This is how we trick ourselves. This is how we get ourselves in momentums that don't serve us. Like you were sick last week and then you still talk about it this week, or, something happened last week that wasn't great and you still talk about it. That's a neural pathway that we keep alive. And I think some of it is like attention thing, right? Like we get attention when bad things happen, people feel sorry for us and we get to talk about it. And then, the focus and the spotlight is on us. Some of it is being addicted to drama, right? Drama makes us feel like we matter, I guess. I don't know. I'd like to pull away from that, like our society to pull away from that dramatic way of being and talking and posting, right? Can we get away from the drama? I had a guy this morning who I put up this post this morning about, God, I don't even remember. This is the thing about my posts, you guys. Once I put them up there, it's gone because I'm in that channeling state. So sometimes I don't even bring it with me. So it started. This is so funny. The perfect unfolding for the expansion of your soul. I'm just going to read it and I'm going to tell you what his thing was, because this is great for the show. This ride called life may feel daunting or pointless at times. You may wonder why it feels like random things happen to you and have trouble grasping what the point is here. Many of you feel unfulfilled by what you're doing and feel it's too late to make a change. Those feelings you experience are valid and invite you to take a deeper look at the life you are creating. When you close your eyes and quiet your mind, you can do something beyond this physical experience. When you create a daily practice of connection, you begin to uncover a world where your faith and knowing become your set point. We talked about mood, right? Mood is set point. You begin to make changes that support what your heart calls you to, and this sets you up for a deliberate way of life. You understand that setting intentions and creating space for better things to manifest is all within your reach. Then, when random things happen, you can look for the gifts and have faith that it's all working out for you. The point here is to discover your joy. It may seem too simple and doesn't satisfy the way you have pushed energy in the past, but it is the truth of your existence. Every heartbreak, challenging year, or devastation has given you a greater capacity to feel joy. How old will you be when you finally decide that you are here to thrive through your growth and expansion? How much longer before you let go of all that creates misery for you and you start exercising your power to create a great life? You can begin as soon as today to look for the gifts and feel inside for your truth. The world becomes better with each one of your discoveries. And this guy, so this was in my Laguna Beach group. This guy comments and he goes, this was so great. This is so great. Okay. Fix the streets in this town. That's what he commented on my inspiring post. Fix the streets. First of all, I don't have access to fixing the streets. I have as much access to fixing the streets as I do to get you to stop negatively posting on people's posts. Right? That's what I wanted to say. Instead, I just ignored him because I value that what you focus on expands. So I decided I'm not going to engage with this person, even though I thought I kind of came up with something funny to say. I'm not going to engage. It's not worth it. But this is what we're dealing with in the world when people cannot get off of their low vibrational being, their low vibrational way of perceiving the world. I'm sure he didn't read my posts. I'm sure he didn't read it. But if he did, and that was his comment, then that's even worse, right? Now I'm judging him. The tendency to be negative is so ripe in the world. It literally is like a magnet for people to get on board with what makes them unhappy, what makes them dissatisfied, what makes them depressed, to get on board with what makes them angry and charged up and dramatic, because it makes them feel like they're worth something, like their word matters, like what they're saying is going to change things. And the truth is, we live in an inclusive based universe. So anything you're fighting against, you're including it in your story. And as you focus and expand, it becomes more. So if you're dissatisfied with our country and the political state, you're going to be dissatisfied with everything in your life because that's the frequency that you're in. So then nothing's going to go right. So then you're going to see lots of evidence in your life where you're frustrated and angry because that's the foundation, that's the state, that's the mood that you've decided to be in. Anytime you're pointing at what's wrong, you can't see what's right. You can't find the solution because the frequencies are different. They're different energies. Okay. Moving forward, let me just see if there's anything else I want to talk about mind training. When the thoughts that you're carrying, the ones that you decide to focus upon, make sure that you're paying attention to that process. Because if you are unconscious and you're just letting your mind run the show, then your emotions are going to run the show as well. And you're not going to have any manifestational power as far as what you positively want to bring into your experience because of the tendency of your mind to be dissatisfied. We have a tendency up here. When we're dissatisfied, our mind keeps us safe and the same. When we're happy, when we're joyful, when we're passionate, when we're fulfilled, we're willing to go out. Think about this. When you're in a good mood, you're willing to do things that you would normally shy away from. When you're in a bad mood, you're like, I can't deal with anything right now. I'm not dealing with anyone right now, right? If I'm not in the mood, you're not getting a text back from me, right? Isn't that the way that we are? Got to be in the right mood. So when we're high, when we're vibrating with a frequency of gratitude and love and appreciation and joy, we're much more likely to expand and grow because we're open, right? We're open to receive. That's what joy is. It's open to receive. Oh, that's what meditating is. We are opening to receive. When you are meditating, you are in a state where you're letting everything else go. Because of that, your vibration raises. When you're letting everything go, now you have a connection to higher states of consciousness where intuition gets louder, where ideas come, where you've got the space to process things. That space is so important in the world of receiving because it's allowing. Allowing and receiving are the same thing, right? It opens you up. It basically tells the universe, like, I'm open and I'm creating space to receive. That's what it does. And if you're running around and you're so busy in your life and you're not giving any space to receive, then you could be missing out on a lot. You could be missing out on a ton of things because you're too busy to even pay attention to what you are creating. And in order for us to create, we need to have focus and we need to pay attention, right? Like we need to give something our attention and focus to create. When you're too busy and you're not paying attention, you're really just in a default mode and you're not really deliberately creating. You're just kind of like being pushed around by the energy field. So if you want to like grab the energy field and have some sort of say over what's happening, you got to start with your mind and you got to start with creating that bit of space. I have a group on Facebook called the M21 Revolution. We've got tons of meditation challenges in there. We may launch a new one soon. I've been thinking about maybe July 1st. And we just do donation-based challenges. And then every day we have a meditation that is available to you. They're all in there too. So if you wanted to kind of free do it yourself, you can totally do that. But the challenges are great because they kind of call you to the page every day and they call you to meditate every day. And then you get to see other people too. There's a beautiful community in there that are benefiting and what they're experiencing by committing to a meditation practice that will allow so much to unfold for you. Like I can't even speak to how much will unfold for you. Okay. So once you gain, that space, then you start to have space to process, and then it's going in and it's really looking at your emotions as they come up and processing instead of pushing. You're just processing them. You're not pushing them away and you're giving them some airtime, right? You're acknowledging them. Like, yeah, I'm pissed right now. Why am I pissed? Well, because maybe because I didn't eat this morning, or maybe because this is bringing up feelings of powerlessness and not being in control. Most of the arguments we get in the world, like the fights that we get in with other people, is a power play. We're just looking to gain power or control in some way. So when we release the need to have control and we realize that we are powerful in the way that we think and act and be, then we won't need to exercise that power over other people. That also is like next level living, up level the living, right? When we get out of these control dramas with people. I'm going to share this book that actually was my quote today. The QR code is up there. The Perfect Unfolding for the Expansion of Your Soul. This is a super spiritual book on manifesting and some messages that came through my dreams and through animal messages. This is a great one. Like this one came flooding out so fast. So this one you can get on Amazon at the QR code there. Then we've got Mindful Manifestation Secrets. This one is also on Audible. I don't have the link to Audible, but if you just put this in, Mindful Manifestation Secrets by Goldyn Duffy, it'll come up. This is our story from moving from Connecticut to California and all the cool things that happen, but it's also like a how-to. It's the science of creating. And then we have Quantum Speaks for Parents. This is great for parenting. Really good advice for energetic parenting. I had a conversation the other day with someone who was telling me about a family and how the husband and wife are just like always bickering and there's just no peace in the house and it's really crazy. There's a lot of kids. And I was thinking, gosh, like when you're married or like when you're with a partner and you bring children into the world, you are setting the tone for these children's lives. That's the reality of it. And if you're always fighting and always bickering, you are teaching them that that's how relationships work. And it will be really hard for them to create anything else. So if you want to set your kids up for failure, do that. Otherwise, clean that up. Go to couples counseling, figure out your stuff, talk to each other, communicate. And if you can't find a way to get along, separate. And I say that like very cautiously, because divorce and separation is one of the hardest things people go through. But staying together and being miserable and fighting all the time in front of your kids is bonkers. It's bonkers. So figure that out, because we are here to expand and grow together, but we're not here, I don't believe, to like get stuck in these dramatic roles where we can't create joy. So if there's no joy left in it and you've exhausted all of the resources, like the therapies and work together and talk and try to work it out, if you've exhausted all of that and there's just no, your oil water and there's no, you can't do it, right? Which I believe with intention and belief and understanding and willingness, we can overcome anything, especially as a couple. If you have two willing participants, I believe you can create any sort of joy together because you've decided that you can, right? Intention is an extremely strong energy field. Okay. You know what? I'm going to do a little exercise real quick. So just close your eyes. I just want to show you, and not if you're driving, but I just want to show you in the next 2 minutes that you can have a clear space in your mind. So take a deep breath and then let it out. One really great thing you can do is breathe in and from the bottom of your body, start to push up and hold your breath for like 15 seconds. That will help your mind to clear. Anytime you hold your breath, it's a great way to clear the mind. But I just want you to imagine that in the front of your forehead, there's this light. And this light goes across the front of your forehead, all the way around your brain, all the way down, around your face, around your jaw, around your shoulders. And it just lets you take a deep breath. It helps you to breathe. It helps you to be present. It helps you to be in this moment. And it's just a clear slate. And as a thought comes, just breathe it out. And just say, not right now. And you can do this at any time, like when you park your car somewhere. Just sit in your car for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and just breathe. And intend. So then you can intend for your next segment, your next event to go successful, to be high vibration, to be in a good frequency. You can reach for a little bit of gratitude. I'm so grateful I'm in this life. I'm so grateful I get to do these things. I love the sky. I love the sun. I love my people. I'm here to win. I'm here to thrive. I'm here to know myself. I'm here to create space. Ooh, that was a good one. I'm here to create space. I'm here to create from my consciousness. I'm here to connect. And I am open to receive, allow, feel, heal, become, and live in the power that I have to create. Isn't that great? And that is accessible to you all the time. Maybe not when you're in a group of people, but you can always excuse yourself and go to the bathroom and breathe and get conscious again and take yourself to a place where you will calm that nervous system down. Because a calmed nervous system, a nervous system who feels safe, who feels secure, feels like everything is working out, right? Like that faith-filled nervous system that goes, everything is working out for me. When you train yourself to think that way and believe that way and drive energy that way, you start to see things working out for you pretty quickly. And you start to see that when you have circumstances that are not optimal, that you can shift and turn them very quickly in benefit to you. And you don't get so worked up and you don't freak out and you're not in rage and you're not yelling at strangers. Man, have we seen a lot of people yelling at strangers recently? I mean, I have even dealt with it. I have a great show 2 episodes ago that was about being bullied and what to do about that. Because if you do have people yelling at you outside in the world, there's an invitation for you to go in and see what that's about and see why you're tolerating it or why it's happening or what's going on with them or what your judgments and perceptions are doing to feed that. And that will help you to create a much better life where you are not feeling like you're in battle every day you walk out of your house. All right, guys, that is my show for today. Train your mind so you can create your life. You have the ability to do it, so why wouldn't you? Peace out.